Practice. And we are live here on a very special junk tank. I am here with a very good close friend of mine, Yenz. I'm Nath Q from the junk tank, and we are going to have a special, what are we doing? Firefly there, buddy?
Yeah.
All right. Firefly talk. Look at that right there. So if you are not a fan of Firefly and you don't even know what it is, listening to us talk about it and how much people like us and others absolutely love and adore the series, you'll want to go watch it. And there's not a lot to watch. What does it break down to? I think it breaks down, if you break down the pilot, it's 13 or 15 episodes. If you break everything into like 45 minutes, there was how many altogether? 13 counting the 2-hour pilot?
Yeah, I don't remember if it's 13 and the pilot counts as 2. I don't remember that, but it is only 13 episodes, and
it's not a long watch.
No.
Someone can go through it in a day, really. Wow.
Or you could be me and you go through it in a day, and the next day you start back over and watch it again. So
and cry in the fetal position, because that's how much people like. I honestly, I look at this picture right here and I get emotional because I love this show so much. It was so well done. It was so amazing. And let's talk about why. You go ahead and you start first with how you got introduced to Firefly, and just give a short version of why you love it so much, Yenz.
So I was a big fan of Joss's other work, Buffy and Angel.
Joss Whedon is the creator, writer of Firefly.
Yes.
We didn't establish. Let's pretend like nobody knows what the hell we're talking about. So go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. So Joss Whedon's other shows, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and it had its own spinoff called Angel. Both worth checking out. Maybe we'll talk some other time about those.
Sure.
But Firefly, a friend of mine goes, well, if you're watching Buffy and Angel, did you watch Firefly? And I'm like, at the time, I didn't even know what the hell he was talking about. You know, Firefly, what are you talking about? So I sat down. It had already aired and then came out on DVD. So I tuned. Did you do that?
Yeah.
Okay. So anyway, so he told me to tune into it, and I started watching it. And at first I thought it was okay. I mean, it was pretty good. You're introduced to the characters and stuff, and you're starting to get introduced to the world by about the episode, which I don't remember. Maybe it's the 5th episode, where we're introduced to what's her name? She's on
Are you talking about
Mad Men? What's her name?
Christina Hendricks.
You're introduced to Christina Hendricks' character, and that episode
Hendricks is Latin for huge rack.
Yeah, so anyway, so I thought it was my story.
It is. Go ahead. I'm gonna say funny shit when it pops into my head, but go ahead.
Well, anyways, it was that episode that really the show really seemed to pick up steam, and then like the next couple episodes were better and better, and just when you're really starting to get to know these characters and the world and everything, the show comes to a screeching halt, and you're like devastated by this fact that it all of a sudden just ends. And
now why were you devastated? People are going to ask, well, what's such a big deal about this show?
And what makes, I think, Firefly just the best show is it has an incredible cast of characters. And it has, at the time when Joss Whedon created the show, he gave it, 9 main characters?
Right.
And they basically, like the studio, like Fox, one of the reasons Fox didn't was, you have too many characters. Nobody is going to be able to follow all these different characters and stuff. It's amazing how much TV has changed now when you have like Game of Thrones and there's like 100 characters or whatever. But back then it was like 9 main characters was too many for people. But no, it's like you have these 9 main characters, and it's like in each episode you'd be like, oh man, that's my favorite character. Oh no, wait a minute, there's that character. And so it's like in each episode when they got their little turn to be like the main character, it's like you liked each one better and better. And so
what is your favorite character in the long run?
I'd have to go with Mal.
Mal?
Mal.
Yeah.
But it could change on a whim, depending on what episode I'm watching.
Janestown is absolutely fantastic. But our Mrs. Reynolds.
Yeah, that's the one with
Christina Hendricks. Yeah, that one, it suddenly becomes Mal, and her, is the best. So yeah, it's interesting. But please continue. I'm going to interject, but continue with so the series ended, and where'd you go from there? Did you see Serenity in the theater?
Yeah, well, I think
explain the audience.
Serenity was there was kind of a revival of Firefly because Serenity was coming out to the movies.
Right.
So I think I did have that to look forward to. And I just, between the time the show I ended watching the show and Serenity came out, I think I absorbed like every ounce of Firefly, anything that was out there, from a podcast, comic books, anything that was available. So that way, when I finally did get to see Serenity in the theater, and I'm pretty sure I saw it in a theater with me and 2 other people.
Yep. One of the times I saw it with a pretty full room.
Really? Well,
the first time I saw it 3 times in the theater to cast my vote.
I think I saw it twice in the theater. I think I saw it the first time. So maybe the second time I went, it was when it was completely empty. I don't remember, but I was disappointed that it didn't really take off when it was released as a movie. But yet there was talk that if it could make, its money back, that we could probably get a sequel. And there was talks for years of sequels, and then it just never happened. And so now, we have 13 episodes and a movie.
Yeah.
And it had the potential, I think, to be the best sci-fi show on television ever. I mean, it really, the characters, the world, it was really rich. It wasn't convoluted at all. It seemed it was grounded in some reality. So, it wasn't all just space fantasy. It had a lot of, real world elements. So, but
yeah, and then the documentaries that I've watched has said they did 3 things that just absolutely struck death blows to the Serenity movie. And one of the things I guess they did was they showed it. They didn't just show like a teaser. Excuse me, I had to eat pizza and I got something in my teeth. They showed it to a bunch of people in advance. Took away all the excitement. They called it Serenity, which is the name of the ship, instead of just calling it Firefly. And then I forget what the other death knell was, but those 2 things by themselves was enough to destroy, the hype and the chance of any normies going to see it. Because imagine if you had a bunch of people waiting in line for something, there'd be at least 5-10 normies that would be like, oh, what are you guys waiting for? It's like, oh, Firefly. Oh, isn't that a TV show or whatever? Like, yeah, it's great. I'm going to see it for my 3rd time now. Then the excitement would have been there, and people would have been like, you know what? Screw Mission Impossible 17. Let's watch this. So I guess am I going to tell my short story?
You can tell a story. So,
well, I was going to just say like how I discovered it was kind of weirder, in the sense that, I'd seen Firefly. It looked kind of hip. It was Fox. So I'm like, uh-oh, because Fox loves to cancel shows everybody loves. But I was sitting there going, oh, and by the way, I do have a couple pictures. What do we got here? Oh shit, sorry. Hang on. I think that's too big, but oh shit. There we go. Sorry. I wanted to show that picture. I can just turn it on, and then people don't like to be meddled with. We tell them what to do, what to think. Don't run, don't walk. We're in their homes and in their heads, and we haven't the right. We're meddlesome. River Tam, one of my favorite characters that, as far as comedy goes, dry comedy. But anyway, Serenity, the movie, was coming out, and I didn't know what Firefly was other than it was this hipster kind of thing. It kind of like, when I saw it, I kind of thought of like Cowboy Bebop had been turned into a live action type of thing, which now we know is, well, maybe a little bit of that, but that's not what it was. But I thought like, oh, that's cool. Didn't that last for like 3 seasons? Wasn't it really good? And people were like, no. And the fact that this movie's coming out is a big deal. So that was what, about 2005 or 6? 2005. And tickets were selling out for the movie. And I was like, really? I go, so what is this thing? So I ended up watching all of Firefly on DVD. And so when Serenity came out, I was already a fan. Like you said, when I first watched it, well, actually, I didn't know how much it was going to impact me yet. But I knew 20 minutes in that, all right, this show is good. I think it was right when Kaylee is talking to Shepherd Book outside of the Firefly. And she says, you know, you don't care where the ship is going. You know, you just like the ship. And that was and it was written better than what I just said. But I was like, I like the way this is kind of written. It's very slick and kind of savvy or whatever. So I was on board. I was in. Serenity came out. They might have screwed it up, but I went and saw it 3 times. And my buddy, this is okay. Here's part of my wraparound story to it too, because we've already covered the other parts. John McCarran, you knucklehead. We were at the bar drinking beers, and I go, yeah, you know, in Serenity when, because he's the one that introduced me to Firefly and told me about the movie coming out. And I go, yeah, you know that part in Serenity where, and he goes, wait, I never saw it, you know. And I go, wait a minute, you're the one that got me into it, and you didn't see it in the theater. All right, ticket. We need our receipt. We need our tab now. And like, we left immediately, and we went, and I think I owned it by then. We went straight back to my house, and we watched Serenity because I'm like, you jackass, you're the one that got me interested in Firefly, and you didn't even go and cast your vote in the theater for it. So, John, I love you, but that was like, we were immediately going back. We got a case of beer, and we watched all of Serenity, and I think we might have even watched the pilot after that. Now, why is it such a big deal? Why is it so loved by everybody? Jens, you there?
You're gonna say River?
I'm just showing. There we go. Why? Son of a bitch. Oh, there we go. Okay. Just keep talking. I'm gonna keep screwing around with this.
Well, like I said, I think it has a lot to do with the characters, but I think the world is actually.
Why is it so warm and fuzzy? Why is it so warm and fuzzy? Like, why do people love it so much? I mean, give your short version. If you had to do an elevator pitch, what would it be?
So it's like family in space, I think, is the way I think someone actually explained it. It's like you want to be a crew member of the Firefly. You know, you want to fly with these guys. You want to go on their adventures and stuff. I mean, I don't know how many people watch Star Trek and want to be a science officer on the Enterprise. Where I think in Firefly, you really have this familiarity that, you know, is there, you know, where
Right.
You can really tell the different. I mean, all the character archetypes are actually like represented in the show really well. You know, you have Mal. He's the lead. He's really the reluctant leader. He's a leader who I don't think he would, you know, what that's what he wants to do is lead this ragtag group. But I think he kind of, you know, it's what he knows and it's what he does. So you start off with him.
Mal's on his side. That's Mal on his side, just in case. That's actually a good picture for this framing. But please continue. Go ahead. Yeah, Mal's the
Mal's
leader.
Yeah, he's like the reluctant captain. He's the guy who basically he's the, you know, the head of the, you know, family. His crew is his family. I mean, he does, you know, his first priority is to them. It's not to, you know, anything else. It's, you know. So
hey, look at that.
So
yeah, he's a real son of a bitch, but he's a loyal, loving son of a bitch.
Yeah.
You know.
Well, now if you want to get a little bit into his backstory, he was again, it's kind of the world. There's this big war that goes. It's how the show really starts.
He came from the planet Shadow, correct?
I don't actually know which planet.
He says it in one episode, I think, when they have all the cows or whatever in the thing.
But basically, Mal's a guy who he joined. There was a basically Earth is used up. Where does it say that? Is that in the actual?
That's in the very beginning. Earth that was got all done used up, basically, is what they say. And then they show all the ships exiting Earth, and they go to all the planets that are out in the galaxy. And
they terraform them, and they
terraform them, and you're basically like you're it's like going out west back in the 1800s, and so what happens is there's a big alliance of a government that becomes too big for itself, totalitarianism and fascism and all that shit, and then there's a resistance.
Yeah, there's a lot of planets that don't want to be part of. So people. Yeah, they settle on all these different planets, and there's a lot of planets that don't want to be part of this big, you know, global conglomerate or universal conglomerate, I guess. And so he fights as part to keep his planet, his planet, or just in general, free from the. What is it actually called? Is it called the Alliance?
No, but it's something like that. Boy, for being big fans, we suck right now.
Well, I will say this: as big of a fan as I am, I don't watch it all the time because I don't want to like
waste. You don't want
to. So I like save it for special occasions.
Exactly, and I'll usually drink because I'm sad that it's canceled, so I don't remember it well. Yeah. And
so, like, if somebody, you know, I'm friends with somebody, they've never seen it, and I'll go, oh God, we're in for a treat. I'll sit down and watch it with them. But I just don't like throw it on to watch it over and over again, because when I first watched it, I did watch it like 3-4 times in a row. And I went, oh man, if I keep doing this, I'm going to get sick of it. So I kind of backed off and said, you know, I'm not going to just keep watching this over and over. And I really have not watched it in quite a few years, actually. I probably am due for a rewatch, to tell you the truth.
Well, when I'm back in Michigan, we'll do that.
Okay.
And we'll drink and cry.
And cry.
And we'll sing Irish hymns to the loss of Firefly.
So I was talking about the characters. So I said you have Mal, then you have his first officer who served with him in the war.
Yep.
That's Zoe.
Mm-hmm.
And it's probably in some ways Zoe's probably a better leader than Mal.
Yeah.
But it's sort of like Mal needs Zoe, because I don't think Zoe's
got her shit together, but she puppeteers him a little bit, and he needs her for the support. And you know, because he's kind of like just, you know, what is he says to Honora in the movie? He says, you know, my rudder moves, you know, which way. If I go south, I go south. If it goes north, I go north. He's got no plan. which is part of the reason that you love him, because he just wings it and fires. And so Zoe probably is the better leader technically, strategically, but they work together good as a team, and that's why she is loyal to him, to almost breaking up her own marriage in the one episode, because Wash is so
Zoe's married to Wash. Wash
Yep.
is the ship's pilot.
He's the pilot that in the pilot had a big bushy mustache. He's played by Alan Tudyk, who is an absolutely sarcastic genius when it comes to comedy. And he's not hurt. Like, she didn't like him the first time they met, and yet they hook up and become married, which is hilarious. And go ahead. What were you saying?
Well, you have a picture of Alan Tudyk, because probably everybody knows who this guy is, but
I got a hot picture of Nara. I got a hot picture of Nara, and I got a really cute picture of Kaylee. Go ahead and keep talking. I'll find Tudyk.
Okay, so Alan Tudyk is this guy. It's like you've seen this guy in so many different things. I know Dodgeball. He was Steve the Pirate?
Yep.
And that was probably the first thing I think I actually saw him in, was that, and I didn't know who he even was at that time. Yeah. But since then, he's done tons of different stuff. He has what's the TV the Alien TV show that he's on? Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
No. So there's a TV show where he plays an alien or whatever. I think that's what he's currently doing now. He does a lot of voiceover work. You'll see so many like animated movies where he's doing wacky voices and stuff. So he's probably honestly the most successful member, of the show.
Yeah.
I mean, I think a lot of people, you recognize him from other things.
He played the robot voice in Rogue One of KTSO. Is that the right? Okay. And that was the best character in the movie, I thought. My dad and I are laughing our ass off. So Tudyk has just got a funny bone, no matter what.
Yeah.
And Hoban Washburn was his full name on the show, and we won't say where his character ended up. We will, I
am trying to make this like spoiler free, which makes this really hard.
Yeah.
So,
we'll just do our best. I mean, if anybody ends up watching this in replay anyway, I mean, but Zoe and him are married. Mal is the captain. And so there's kind of like this faithful and platonic yet awkward triangle. Not love triangle, but it's like devotion triangle.
Yeah. Right.
Because Zoe's devoted to two men. She's devoted to her captain military-wise, but also she's faithful to her husband marital-wise. And then Wash's captain, wife, and then Mal's got kind of the weird one. Mal's devoted to his second in command and also his pilot. So he has no marital stuff that they have, which is kind of funny. But
so then the remaining members of his crew, there's Kaylee, and Kaylee is his.
I got her. I got a great shot of her.
There you go.
Oh, yeah, her.
Jewel
State.
I was gonna say, she told me how to say her last name, and I was like,
yeah, that's the thing. We gotta. We'll talk a little more about Firefly, but we've both probably met half the crew combined.
Yeah, at different conventions, getting their autograph and stuff. So.
I never met her, to my chagrin. Where did you meet her? Dragon Con?
I met her at a con in Ohio.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. In fact, I can't remember who was all there, but it was. I made a special trip to. I'm like, hey, I can get more members of my Firefly crew autographs. So I went down there and I met her, and she told me, her last name was. What did you say? It was State? Just
State. It's Staite, I believe.
So I'm like, okay, well that was simple, but I think most people try to pronounce the E on the end. Isn't there an E? Yeah.
Yeah. Staite. Yeah.
Yeah. So no. So beautiful girl. You know, her character is she's like a genius in terms of fixing ships, but she doesn't come across like she would be like this mechanical grease monkey.
She's basically the polar opposite that you'd think of for a Scotty from Star Trek in the engine room. So that's what she is.
But she is. She is Scotty. She, you know, the miracle worker down in the engine room that keeps the ship going. And she also has, how would you say this? Like, no filter. So she really says what's on her mind. And
she's great. I mean, she's absolutely awesome.
So
and she's got a very down home girl, sexy way about her. She's just like, I mean, she's just the girl next door country girl kind of thing. And no filter. It's part of the sexy too, because she's got a mouth on her. You know, she's got one of the best lines in Serenity too, when she's talking about twixt my nethers. And I'm like, that's a cool girl that's not afraid to say that line. That's hilarious. Because it's let's face it, it's a cowboy western in space. That's what Firefly is. You know, it's a cowboy western in space. And here's Tarek.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much half the crew right there.
Well, the show actually starts out with one crew, and they add to the crew. Another one member of the original crew is Jane, and
and he's on my side, right there, Adam Baldwin.
He's basically the muscle. He's basically there, at least in the beginning, you get the idea that he's just there for the job. You know, like he doesn't see himself as really part of Mal's family. You know, it's like Mal's paying him.
He's arguably one of the most dynamic characters.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's what I'm saying. He starts off as just this guy who, like I said, he's the muscle. He's the guy that basically he's getting paid. He's doing the job, and he's not. He doesn't seem loyal to Mal or really his crew. And in fact, again, spoiler, I guess, but you find out that Mal basically recruited him in the middle of him working so he's working for another guy, and his job is to bring like Mal in, and Mal basically buys him off and says, you know, how much are they paying you? I'll pay you more. And the guy turns his gun, and, you know, that's how he joins the crew. So, you know, he doesn't have loyalty in the beginning, of course. So, you know, great character. You really learn a lot about, and he does have probably the best story arc, at least as far as what you see in the show during season 1. And the last original character that is not actually a member of Mal's crew, but rather she rents out Mal's shuttle.
I got her.
That is the absolutely gorgeous.
Yes, still to this day.
Inara, played by I'm going to butcher her name, so you might as well.
Marina Baccarin. I believe the last name is pronounced Baccarin. And I don't know if this is Firefly, but this is her smoking hot, and she still kind of looks like this now because she's on something that I can't remember because I don't watch a lot of stuff because stuff sucks now.
No. But, I would rather go back and rewatch Firefly than pretty much anything that's on television right now.
Yeah, I think The Rookie, which Nathan Fillion is on. Okay, we'll come back to Marina Baccarin.
I did. I was watching The Rookie with him on it.
Is it still on? Because I
don't know. It like kind of disappeared. I mean, I don't even remember how far into it I got.
It wasn't bad. It was kind of an interesting structure to how they did the story. But just seeing Nathan Fillion, you know, if you're a big fan of Fillion's sarcasm and very warm and likable, you know, character, you'll watch him in anything. I mean, he even played the douchebag in Blast from the Past, I think it was.
Yeah.
He was the frat boy douchebag 25 years ago when Brandon Fraser, and it wasn't Alicia Silverstone. So Fillion's been around, and he's been in a couple of things that were popular too, not just bit parts.
So here, I'm going to contribute something here.
Okay,
Let's
yeah,
see if
just
it
send it
works.
to me. Send it to me like you did this. I see how I should be doing this too, also.
Open.
But anyway,
Is
to
it not
anybody,
working?
we've been getting a live person here and there. We're talking about Firefly. We're talking about why we love it so much. This is a practice to more pop culture dialogue between Yenz and Nath. We're going to talk about everything that we like about new stuff, everything we hate about new stuff. And we chose Firefly. Actually, I just kind of threw it out there, and here we are live talking about
You gave me
Firefly.
I had 0 seconds to prepare.
Yeah, why not? Hey, it's better than nothing. It's but we accomplished something, and we talked about how great of a show Firefly is, and we can, I mean, we haven't even covered every character either.
No,
I mean, that's the thing is we've covered most of the ladies. I gotta find a good picture. There we go. I got the river picture.
well, we haven't talked. So in the first episode, we're introduced as 3 new characters to the crew.
Yep.
Probably the simplest to introduce a Shepherd Book.
Yep.
Any chance you have a picture of?
Yep, I got Ron Glass going on. The late great Ron Glass right now. I'm bringing him in, and oh shit, it's a web page. Hang on. But
He
go
was
ahead,
actually
talk about Shepherd Book. I'll bring him in a second.
He was when Ron Glass was cast as this. He was actually considered probably the biggest name of the cast in the crew. I mean,
Wojo Howitz.
What?
He's Wojo Howitz and Barney Miller. That guy goes way back.
So yeah, he was well known for Barney Miller, and so he was brought in, and like Nathan said, Nath said he's
You're fine. I don't care. Here we go. It's a good one.
He's introduced. He gets on the ship because he wants to go somewhere, and he's basically a shepherd, which I guess is a religious kind of
Shepherd Book. He's a pastor. He's a wandering monk because he also knows like some karate and all that kind. Because when they run into their first challenge, he does a little bit of a maneuver. He is actually, to me, the character I wanted to see his backstory unfold the most.
Yeah, you could tell he wasn't always a shepherd. He has some kind of a backstory. We've never learned the backstory.
Hey, Jeff Martin.
What?
Hey, Martin.
Yeah. So we never learn his backstory, and now Ryan Glass has passed on, and even if they revived it, so we will never, unless Josh just eventually tells us, we don't actually know what his past is. So he's a mysterious character. So
and it sucks that we didn't get to know more about because you remember Mal goes, you'll have to tell me more about that sometime, and he says, no, I don't. Like, it's like when you're talking to someone about a certain war they were in, and they're like, yeah, I'm never going to be telling you any stories, about the PTSD I carry in my soul, So Book is very interesting in and of himself, by himself there.
And he is kind of the voice of reason on the ship. I mean, he's obviously Mal, he's kind of a fly by your seat pants kind of guy, and Book is somebody that he will listen to for advice. And
well, he's interesting. He's interesting because he's been converted. He went from Saul to Paul, it sounds like.
Yeah.
That's his story. He went from being a government scumbag to...
Well, we don't know what he was. He could have been a government assassin. He could have been a bounty hunter. We really... Okay. But we don't really know any of that. It's basically, it's all speculation because he is cryptic in the way he talks about his past. And the other, and
then he converted.
See if we can get through the crew here. And the other 2 characters we're introduced to is probably one of the best and probably the least favorite of the crew here. And that's Simon Tam and his sister River.
Yep. And
even I shouldn't really say Simon is probably the least interesting character of the crew, but it doesn't mean he's a bad character.
Not at all.
Like that. And maybe as the show went on, maybe we would have found out more about him. But what we're kind of given is he's kind of a snooty doctor that rescued his sister from a government facility. That's really all we kind of know about these two when the show starts.
Yep.
And they become members.
By the way, his name is Sean Maher. I think that's how you pronounce it.
I thought it was just Mar.
Is it Mar? Okay, Sean Mar. Sean Mar. I never met. Have you ever met him at all?
I think I did. I think he was one of the other ones I got autographed from.
Did you? Okay.
Yeah. I think I got him, Kaylee. I don't remember. Those are. Who else did I get? I'm trying. Adam Baldwin. Adam, right? I did say Adam.
Oh, you've met way more than I have. Then you met almost the whole damn crew.
Oh, that's only 3 of them.
Oh, I thought you said like 5, but anyway.
No, I just did. Well, I was saying I don't know what I was saying anymore. But no, so that's really your main crew. But so basically, Simon earns his keep on the ship by being the ship's doctor because Mal and his crew basically get shot up a lot. So that's kind of where that's a role. But he's very protective of his sister. His sister, we don't know really anything about her other than she seems to have severe mental issues, I guess is what how she's kind of introduced. And again, I don't want to ruin the whole development and backstory, but that's really what we're introduced to. And so, but we learn a lot more about River, and River probably does become the most interesting character of the show by the time the movie comes out. So, no.
Yeah. Here's it's Jay Martin. He says rich kids, which is what they are. They're rich kids. Jay Martin, did you watch a lot of Firefly then? He's in the chat.
Oh, okay.
I think we've talked about it, Jay Martin. We've talked about Firefly before, right? I mean, I'm sure you've met a bunch of them through the years because Jeff did the Motor City Comic Con for a long time, and he's met a lot of everybody. But
no, I think I would have met more of the crew of Firefly if I would have, like when it first came out, like really knew who, because I assume like when the show first came out, these guys were doing cons and stuff.
Exactly.
And then
depending on where you were, though, I mean, they weren't doing a lot.
Yeah. Well,
because I mean, they never came around like the Detroit con. You know, not until recently.
Adam Baldwin was in Detroit. He's the only one that I think has ever come to Detroit.
Right. At all, and then he did it recently in the last like 5 years.
Has he come back in the last 5 years? I don't remember when he came back through, but I remember he came through, and he didn't go to like our main con. He was at one of the obscure, like cons that were upstart cons that were trying to become a bigger con, but he was one of their first guests. I remember him being there. So, but no, nothing real. It's disappointing in that I think just about everything Firefly related has kind of been wiped out. I mean, it's not at cons. You don't really get the guests anymore going in and talking or anything like that. And if and if someone like an Alan Tudyk shows up, he's probably there to promote, Rogue One.
Right. Or just whatever he's working on. Because him and Baccarin, the lovely Baccarin, those two are the most active. Well, and Fillion, they're the most active.
Yeah. Well, Fillion's had his TV shows. So he went from.
Well, he had Castle.
Yeah. I was going to say he had Castle. Do you have anything before Castle?
Yeah, he had something in between Firefly and Castle. Jay Martin, help us out in the chat. What?
Where's IMDb when I need it?
Oh, he's never met any. Jay Martin says, you never met any of them? Yeah, I've only met like 2, 3. It's just like it's crazy who I've met in like certain shows, and then others it's like I haven't never met any. I hadn't met any Battlestar Galactica people, and all of a sudden I met them all, and hung out with the great Mike Hogan many years ago. But we're here to talk about Firefly. Now, one of the things about Firefly that I loved, which is kind of like shows like Supernatural. Like, I love Battlestar Galactica so much, but they're not able to do what Supernatural, Firefly, and a few other shows were able to be incredibly ugly, dark, and then so quickly go to hilariously funny. Switch on to hit the switch from dark to funny so quickly and so well, to be able to tackle subject matters like the Reavers, and the Reavers are like the demon pirates of Firefly universe, and be able to like jump into a joke back on Firefly really fast. Although when the Reavers took over, they did take over pretty dark for quite a while, because that there was not a whole lot of humor to be found in that storyline. I mean, they were basically like Pinhead from Hellraiser thrown into a pirate's body. So,
actually, Nathan Fillion, from what I'm looking,
yeah,
after Firefly ended, he showed up on some shows like Desperate Housewives, but no, his next real big thing that he wound up doing was Castle. And he was on Castle for
7 years.
7 years, yeah. And now he's been on
Rookie for going into 4. Is that right?
Yeah, at least 4 years, I guess.
Right.
So
right. So
they've all gone on to do stuff. Really, I don't think any of them have fallen off the face of the earth. But
Baldwin was the bodyguard in My Bodyguard back in the 80s, so he's been around a long time.
And he was on Chuck for
and then and he was on Chuck. He was in Independence Day. He was the guy when the president goes, "Is that glass bulletproof?" "No, sir." And they shot it. And then Ron Glass goes all the way back to the 70s to Barney Miller. And let's see, River Tam became a Terminator.
Right.
Sarah Connor Chronicles. And where are we at? Okay. And then because they've all done something. Tudyk, very successful. Rogue One. He was in that one called Suburbia, or it had like a one-name title or something. But the whole point to that cast was they're all active still, because they're all likable characters. And there was lightning in a bottle. Let's face it, with Firefly, there was lightning in a bottle that Fox was too myopic of a vision to see. They did not see the quality that they had with those 9 characters, and how 9 characters weren't too many. They worked just right. You had a representation of humanity in each one of the different. They were all like little Han Solos on a big Millennium Falcon ship, going through space, trying to stay alive, helping some people along the way if they could. They had their, monster of the week, challenge of the week, whatever of the week. Oh, that was the other thing that Fox did to screw up Firefly, was they played it out of order.
Yeah.
The train robbery was the second episode, but they played it first. And then the pilot was like played 3rd or 4th or something. If you watch this one documentary, they show them all out of whack, like all 11. There was only 11, I think. There's 13 episodes, but 11 that were aired, and not preempted, and all this other shit. And it's like,
yeah, they didn't all originally air. I forget how many of them actually were on TV, and they buried it on Friday night.
Yep, they switched it around, and they basically were like, you know what? These guys have this great new creative show called Firefly. Let's try and fuck it up as best we can. You know, that's basically what it felt like.
Like if they could have done it wrong, Fox did it wrong. They did everything wrong, from the way they marketed it, from the night they put it on, to how they promoted it, to just everything. I mean, Fox, because at the time Joss Whedon's big hit was Buffy, and they wanted, you know, Buffy the Vampire Slayer in space, and when they didn't get Buffy the Vampire in space, instead they got, you know, Wagon Train in space, or whatever you want to call it.
Right.
They didn't know what to make of it, you know. So,
which they should have been like, well, that's kind of like how the original 60s Star Trek got sold.
Yeah.
You know, why not give it a shot? And here's a crazy idea. Watch it. If you own half a soul, you might be able to go, oh, this is pretty witty. This is pretty clever. This is pretty funny. I want to get behind this and give it a shot. Let's give it, because there was only like 2 slots at the time, I guess. It was Fridays and Wednesdays. It started on Wednesdays, and they moved it to the Death Knell spot on Fridays.
If they might have debuted it. They'll do this sometimes, is they'll debut it after a big hit, and then they'll move it to its regular night after its debut. So, you know, it debuts on Wednesday, and then they bury it on Friday. So maybe it didn't get a lot of people watching it on Wednesday after whatever their supposedly big hit was.
Right.
But no, it has very witty dialogue. I mean, it does. It creates some of its own dialogue. I mean, you'll hear some people using some of the phrasing that they used. I think shiny is one.
Shiny was slang for something good.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, it's if you ever hear somebody say, "Oh, shiny" or whatever, it's like, well, that actually traces back to Firefly. You know, that's where that comes from. I can't remember off the top of my head, you know, some of the other things that they.
Well, I like the fact, you know, instead of this is actually a good replacement for goddamn. Instead of saying goddamn, he'd say goram. And it's like, yeah, well, if they hadn't done that goram thing, we would have been all right. And it was like, it had like a, well, first of all, you get around the swearing.
Well, one of the ways they got around the swearing was by saying things in Chinese.
Mandarin, which they did okay. They had to, like, somebody on the crew had to contact their sister or cousin or something over in China and ask them if this sounded right. And now they've translated all the Chinese swear words, and it's like, you know, you are a big pile of elephant shit. And the way it translates, very funny. It's good stuff. Okay. So we talked, let's talk about, like, in the next, we got a couple more minutes. Let's try and get to an hour on this if we can. Hello, everybody. If you're just watching this, we're talking about the TV show Firefly, which we love very much. And let's talk about your favorite episode, and I'll talk about my favorite episode. Ready and go.
It's called Out of Gas. And it's one of those episodes that I always tell people this. It's like, you can't just go watch this episode and be like, that's a great episode. You have to get to that point to earn it, because you have to get to know the characters, because
it wouldn't mean as much. It wouldn't mean as much.
No, it wouldn't. And I think it's just one of the best episodes I've just seen in television in general.
Period.
And it's a very simple episode, really. Is they're flying their ship out of the they're trying to avoid being tracked or whatever it was, and they're flying way off course, and a part breaks on the ship, and it's pretty much the life support. I mean,
well, remember now, going back to what you're saying about how you couldn't have done that first or second, it had to be later, like mid-season. Remember, there's a part in the engine that she keeps telling Mal, you better fix it or else we're floating dead in space.
Yeah.
And sure enough, that's the part that takes the shit. So anyway.
So what happens is the ship is dead in space, and basically, they I don't know how much I want to give away, but that's basically what happens. So it's
talk more about the mood. Talk more about the mood.
Well, it's really dour in that basically they're just trapped. They're out in space. They're out in the middle of nowhere. And what we're given is some backstory to the characters that were not originally given when we're originally introduced to them, which really makes all the characters that much more like rich in terms of what they bring to the table and stuff.
And they break it down, if I remember, they break it down into 3 pieces, correct? They break it down into past, present, and future. Like they break it down into what's currently going on. And then they have a middle, what just happened. And then they have flashbacks of the characters like 6 months to a year previous.
Yeah.
So you get 2 recent timelines, which are kind of interesting because something just happened. This is now happening. And then to kind of give you a backstory on the character, they jump back to when isn't that where when he steals Jane away from the other thug?
Yeah, that's where you see like that kind of a scene.
Flashback. Okay.
And you also see how Kaylee joins the crew, and actually you see how all the crew comes to join, really.
Yeah.
But that's not really the plot of the episode. The
plot
of the episode is basically Mal's struggle with really keeping his crew alive, and well, nothing else really. That's the whole real plot. I mean, he has to keep everyone from dying.
And he makes a sacrifice, and that's not giving anything away. He makes a sacrifice.
I think you kind of see that right from the beginning.
Yeah, and then that's the ship right there. And some people might not even think about the obvious thing. It's shaped like a Firefly bug. It's got the engine that glows like an ass. That was the other thing too, is the ship set. The set, they said, was very warm and comfortable. It was all color coordinated a certain way. Like the engine room in Kaylee's area had kind of an orange brown warm feel to it. The infirmary and the medical bay was white and blue, very sterile. And then like where they congregated had red and orange and whatever tones, kind of more hippy dippy kitchen, dining room. And it was really cool. But Adam Baldwin, I think he said there was a stairwell that went up off out of nowhere, and it went into a wall to a dead end. And he said he used to go and sit at the top of that stair for like a half hour to an hour beforehand, before they would film, just to kind of chill and to get his zen going. And I thought that was kind of a cool story. But anyway, finish out a gas story, I guess.
I was going to say now that I know that he's here, he talks, in the like main living room area, they have the big wooden table where they're always kind of sitting around and discussing stuff. Kind of, it shows up in Serenity, but it's in the show. And they did a lot of things that were not typical of sci-fi at the time. I mean, really, if you think about it, like, if you look at Next Gen, the Enterprise was this in every iteration of Star Trek. It was always, everything was big, like a big spaceship with the clean walls and everything went around was very, they tried to make it look sleek and modern and everything like that. Kind of Joss Whedon they went the opposite direction. I mean, like, they don't even have like laser pistols. They're still using bullets. I mean, it's a lot of even though it's
500 years in the future, and most of them are still using bullets.
Yes, there are actually. You do learn later on that people do have laser guns and stuff, but again, you're kind of, it's like the rich people have those, and us common folk, we're still shooting bullets because it's what we can forge in our.
That's where there's a little bit of an element of revolution, because in revolution, a real hot commodity and currency is ammunition.
Yeah.
And as in any time, troubled times, that's the case. So, okay. So out of gas, do you have anything else to say? Because I was going to say mine and probably wrap it up.
No, that's my favorite episode. So I'm curious what yours is. So.
First of all, I agree. Out of gas is arguably mine, close to mine. I think mine though is got to be more of a less melancholy one. It's kind of a battle between Janestown and our Mrs. Reynolds. And there's and I think I'm going to pick our Mrs. Reynolds because across the board it was, and it was also a setup for their second meeting with her. I'm so glad they got to sneak in Christina one more time because she was she's a great actress, but she was a great like conniving comedic actress.
I'm sure she would have been an ongoing character on the show if it continued.
Yeah,
in fact,
there was
that's one of the big disappointments really with the movie is we don't get her in the movie at all. I mean,
no.
So there is no resolution with her character.
Was there was she doing Mad Men then? Did Mad Men go that far back?
I don't think so. I think
I don't think so either. I think that was like a 2010-ish thing. But
because that was the first thing I saw her on was Firefly. I didn't see her, on.
Right.
Curious what years Mad Men.
She was in other stuff though. But you go ahead and look that up while I explain. Our Mrs. Reynolds is a funny one for me because I'd been watching. This was summer of 2007. I had been watching Firefly a lot, and for some reason, I had never seen Our Mrs. Reynolds, the episode. Somehow I skipped it every single fucking time. It was bizarre. And whenever they'd show the preview and you'd show Wash and Zoe kind of cuddling by a fire, I'd go, what episode is that from? And I just not think anything of it. Well, one night we had a writers meeting and everybody went home. We watched I think 3 Firefly episodes, and it's the 4th in the sequential order. And I was like, oh my God, an episode I've never seen. And it ends up being the funniest one because they all get really drunk at the beginning of the episode. Mal ends up marrying a girl who is all timid, supposedly, all timid and sweet from this planet. It's like, oh yeah, you took the crown of flowers and you exchanged it and drank from the thing. Now you're married. And she's actually a conniving little shit, but she comes onto the ship. She hides in a cargo thing, and she keeps bullshitting everybody except for Honora, because Honora, being the streetwise, basically high-class hooker that she is.
I was gonna say, we never talked about really anything about Honora.
Yeah, we didn't talk about Honora either, but that's all right. We can touch on that because she gets a great role in this because she doesn't fall for her bullshit at all. Because she thinks she's trained. Honora is a companion, which is a high-class hooker. She's a companion. She gets trained to have sex with men, but she's a high-class one. She's not a scuzzy one. And so she thinks that maybe she might be trained too because she's so good at bullshitting and, doing whatever. So anyway, Mal thinks that he's married to this girl. He can't be married to her. They got to get divorced. She's faking the scorned, disliked girl. Everybody looks at Mal like he's a heartless bastard. And he's like, what? And Shepherd Book goes, there's a special hell for people like you. And he's saying it like tongue in cheek, but he's also like, I'm not happy with Mal right now. There's a special hell. Then later on, when stuff is going on, I don't remember what this context is, but he goes, a special hell. It's so funny, the whole episode. It's at least the funniest one of them all, or it's equal with Janestown.
Yeah.
And
you named the 2 funniest episodes.
Say again?
You named the 2 funniest episodes. Those are the funny ones.
Yeah.
And every time I watch Janestown, all I want to do is go to the crappy town that's named after me.
Well, that's a great. That's the thing about Firefly is the one-liners galore through the whole thing. And I've had some people tell me, yeah, it was too, pithy. and it was too what's
But
the
that
word?
episode?
No, of Joss Whedon's writing in general.
Oh.
And I'm like, all right, whatever. The ambic, tambic pie. What's the word I'm looking for? It's like a Shakespearean origination. Iambic pentameter. They said there's too much of that bouncy rhythm, too pithy. In fact, it was Frank J. Martin. It was our buddy Frank that does security at the conventions. He's like, I don't like Joss Whedon's writing because of that. And I'm like, that's exactly why I do like his writing, because there is a certain kind of rhythm to the way everybody ping pongs and tennis balls, the jokes and the dialogue back to each other. It's like the rhythm and the timing is impeccable as far as comedy goes. And yes, I did name the two funniest, although when Yo Safbridge comes back, that episode, who haven't you married? She's bullshitted another guy into marrying her, which is an old friend of Mal's. And what does she say her name? She's Bridget. She's
well, it's Yo Safbridge, so
Saffron, Yo Safbridge, Bridget, Saffron, Yolanda.
Yolanda.
And she was Yolanda to the dude they're going to try and rob of his ancient gun. He has an antique, the first laser gun ever made in a glass case. And this is another it's the heist. Is that what it's called? The heist?
It might be.
But yeah, they basically took a lot of tropes that if anybody watching this right now would sound like, that kind of sounds like I've seen it before. Yeah, but this one is fresh twist all the way, baby. This is fresh twist on the classic tropes. But yeah, Christina, great guest appearance. Badger, we can't forget Mark Shepard, one of my favorite character actors of all time. Mark Shepard is he plays one of my least favorite. I liked him as Romo Lampkin on Battlestar way more, but he does play the Weasley little guy in Firefly really well when he plays Badger and his little bowler hat. And he's just like, got a small little gang of guys on his tiny little planet. Or actually, that might have been one of the big planets. But a lot of great guest appearances, too, on that show. Am I missing any guest appearances that were classic?
Well, hold on. Let me look at the
seems like there was a veteran actor. They had the planet that had the guy's recognizable. They did the right thing and they gave the medicine back to the sheriff, which got him in trouble with the gangster. He could have come back too, because I don't think they killed him off. I think he got away. Remember, Wash and him are tied up and they're torturing him.
Yeah.
And what was that? Nick's shit. We're sucky Firefly fans.
We really should have watched it first.
That's all right. This is just a practice. We can always do it again.
Yeah.
I'm going to remember it. What did you find on your little investigation there?
God, they don't really list the characters here all that well. I remember IMDb being more effective.
The older guy with the gray hair.
Oh, here we go. Now I'm on the thing I want.
Nick Nicksky.
Hey, did you know Zac Efron played young Simon?
I think I did know that trivia, but it's good to know again. Yeah, that's pretty crazy too. Yeah, because we have a flashback to them being young kids before the dark times, before the Alliance. Niski. Nick.
Oh, you're talking the character's name?
Yeah, what's the fucking character's name? The one that tortured him, and then he actually kind of took off like a bitch. He kind of ran away like a coward.
Oh, that's so he could come back for
Yeah, exactly.
Nishka. Michael Fairman played him. I don't.
Yeah, I've seen him in a couple of things, just like I've seen the sheriff they gave the medicine back to, which was got them in trouble with Niska. I think it's Niska, not Nishka. I think it's pronounced that way. But anyway, that was a great episode because Wash and Mal both got tied up together. And Mal kept Wash kind of like not losing his shit by arguing with him and insulting his wife and stuff. He did it on purpose to keep spirits up or whatever. But anyway, we're just over an hour. This is a great practice though, man. It's really good. And tonight's stream was all about just part one, if we wanted it to be, of our favorite show, Firefly, which you usually say things like, which ran between 2003 and 2007. But in this case, we'll basically say it ran between 2003 and 2003.
Did it only air in 2003? Did it not even make it to the first of the year?
If I remember correctly, they said they were at the Christmas party when they were told it was canceled. They had done half the first season, and at the Christmas party, they all got told what they kind of knew was going to happen. And that's if I remember correctly. I like not knowing everything because it seems fresh when you go back and watch it, you know?
Well, IMDb actually says there's 14 episodes.
Okay.
The Train Job, Bushwhacked, Our Mrs. Reynolds, Janestown, Out of Gas, Shindig. These are not in order, by the way.
No, they're not.
Safe, Aerial, War Stories, Objects in Space, Serenity, which was the pilot, not the movie.
Yep.
Heart of Gold, Trash, and The Message. Like, I can't even tell you what Trash was at this point. So
Trash was
oh, that's the episode where Yosef Bridge returns.
Yeah, Yosef Bridge, and they put the stuff in the trash off the big thing. Yeah, and then there's the funny and then this is not giving anything away, but you get to see Nathan Fillion butt naked. He took it, unless he put a sock on his cock. That guy was butt naked for the team. He took one for the team doing that one, which is funny. And that was the one where Nora gets the upper hand on everybody, and she's the only one that knew what was going on the whole time. That's a great episode. I won't say any more than that. The Message was that the one with what's his face from Law and Order plays the creepy bounty hunter looking for River, and he has like kind of schizophrenic like kind of moments, and he's looking for River, and he takes out everybody in the group, like unconsciously takes everybody out. That's what The Message was, right?
No, The Message is the episode where one of Mal's soldiers kind of meets up.
Oh, yeah. The guy that was he was kind of a ding dong.
Yeah, that's another. I'm not, if I'm mistaken, I think that actor is fairly well known. I don't remember.
What's Heart of Gold then? Heart of Gold was the one where they helped the hookers.
Yeah, probably. Where did my list go of the episode? Here they are.
Because Nora gets called by an old friend who Mal hooks up with. I won't say any more than that. But is that Heart of Gold? Anybody watching this, you gotta understand they cram so much good television into 14 episodes.
Yes.
You will not be disappointed, and you do not have to be a science fiction fan at all. All you got to do is be a human being with a soul and appreciate good characters and good storytelling.
Well, what's funny about when you say like, okay, so we easily, what's your favorite episode? Actually, the hard question is, what's your least favorite episode? Because you really do not have a stinker in the batch. I mean,
no, you don't. But my least favorite, I know what it is right off the top of my head, and that's the one with the dude that was the ding dong soldier.
That was probably the most dramatic episode and probably the slowest.
And he was an annoying character when I wanted him to be like a really likable character, but instead he was kind of like the guy that whined and slowed things down when they were in war, and the flashbacks were annoying. I just wanted to kick him in the balls.
Yeah.
So
yeah, but, especially after how much momentum the show had been building up at that time, that episode kind of came out of left field and kind of really kind of put the brakes on the show. But it is a dramatic episode in terms of there's some good.
But I think that's one of the ones that didn't air.
What?
I think
I
that's
don't think it originally aired on the show.
So it wouldn't have dragged anything down at all.
No, no, I'm talking about when you're watching it on the DVD. That's the one episode where you kind of, yeah, join the club. That's how I feel right now. It's like, wow, I am due for a rewatch of it, because as much as I remember, it's amazing how much I realize now that I kind of forgot.
Yeah. Well, just some simple things, because there's some tropes, like you always have to name the bad guy. You always have to name the Empire. You know, Star Wars has Empire, so you got to name them the Alliance, or you got to name them the whatever. You know, the Dark Force. You got to name it something. You got to give it a name. And then the brown coats were the rebels that fought against, but you can't use rebels, because rebels is now, you know, notorious to be, you know, with Star Wars. And the Reavers are kind of like, you know, what would be, everybody's got, like, they're kind of like the Borg of Star Trek is what the Reavers are, except that they're just like, they're demonic almost. They're like Hellraiser characters, combined with pirates. And that's where that shit got dark. Like that, I think it's episode 4.
I don't even know. I think it's
I
it's
think
right
they waited.
before it gets lighthearted with our Mrs. Reynolds. It gets really dark. That's probably the darkest episode on the show.
Yeah, I think they did Reavers episode, and then they followed it up with our Mrs. Reynolds, so it would kind of give you that release. It was kind of like going from Temple of Doom to Last Crusade, you know, Empire to Jedi. It's like you gotta like, I can't take any more of this shit. So Reavers were heavy stuff.
But yeah, there was a lot of stuff that was actually introduced to the show that we never got a lot of payoffs with, like
Blue Sun.
The what?
Blue Sun.
Like we never find out what's the deal with Blue Sun. We never find out what's with the guys with the blue gloves. You know that you're good. I mean, I think Joss Whedon has proven that he maybe can't just write a really thick tapestry every time. He had lightning in a bottle a couple of times, but he's at least a really good, witty, pithy writer. He's really good at keeping things moving and keeping the momentum going. And I'll tell you right now, though, he's arguably had, well, if you consider Angel a big success, do you consider Angel a pretty big? It was a moderate success.
Five seasons? Did it go 5 seasons?
Let's see here. It's started on Buffy's 4th season. Buffy went 7, and it lasted 1 year after Buffy. So let's see here. Buffy 7 minus 3, 4. So yeah, it lasted 5 seasons.
So he was owning the airwaves in the 90s, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, because Buffy, I remember being huge, and I enjoyed watching it off and on, but I didn't get hooked, probably because I was a little bit older. And also I'm not retarded. I don't have blunt force trauma to the brain. No, I'm kidding. It was good. It was fun.
Buffy is one of those shows that, much like you, I only saw an episode here and there, and I found it mildly entertaining. I had seen the movie with Christy Swanson.
Oh, and I had a huge crush on Christy Swanson, so I was pissed when it wasn't her. But she was so smoking hot back then, man. When she was priming out, she was in perfect shape. She was hot.
Yeah. So, but what happened was kind of like with Firefly. Someone tells me, and it's like they go, "Well, you need to watch the whole show." I'm like, "Okay." And this is when DVD shows came on DVD. This was like brand spanking new that shows were coming on. They were like $100 for like a season of a show. And so my friend, she loaned me, or actually we watched the first like 3 seasons together or whatever.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, okay. All of a sudden it's like you really get into like a lot of the things that were running throughout the show in terms of the characters and story arcs, and
it wasn't all high school level either. There was some depth to it. It wasn't all just high school problems, high school kids, college problems, college kids. I mean, there actually was some depth to it.
So yeah, well, and there was jokes that like,
yep,
you had to like, I don't know. It's in episode 2. There's a joke that pays off in like episode 10. I mean, it's like that kind of the way the show went. So when I watched it, so we watched the first 3 seasons, and then whatever, and then so I went out and bought the remaining episode. I don't think the whole show had aired at the time, so I bought whatever the remaining seasons that were available. Of the show, and I watched those, and I went like, "Well, this is great." And then I had to go back and buy the 3 seasons that I didn't own, so I watched them. And at that point, I'm like, hey, I might as well just rewatch the whole show again. So it was sort of like the Firefly thing, but a much longer investment was to rewatch Buffy. And
once you get to Firefly, it's kind of like he did his Sergeant Pepper.
Yeah, it really was.
But you only got to hear like the first 4 or 5 songs before, you didn't get to hear the whole album, which is what leaves everybody wanting still to this day.
What you got was you didn't get the album, you just got the little 45 with the one song and the song on the flip side, and that was like it. You didn't get the album, so you never heard.
You got the singles. You got the singles with a B-side, but you didn't get the whole thing. And it left you wanting, and still to this day, 20 years. Is it 20 years this year?
It was 2003, so next year is the 20th anniversary.
That's what I thought.
When we just looked at IMDb, that's when I'm like, wow, 2003, okay. And Mad Men, by the way, was 2007, so that was like 4 years after she did Firefly. So she...
Okay, I thought it might have been a little. I was right in between. I said 2010 and originally 5, so Mad Men was 2007. I always feel like shit's way older than it is sometimes.
So so let's talk about our favorite season of Firefly. But
did we mention favorite character? We mentioned favorite. I guess before.
Who was your favorite character?
Mine, I didn't say. I think my favorite character might be Jane. If it's not Mal seems like the easy go-to. I think because he's so dynamic, and because he's a bumbling oaf, and because he owns Vera. Isn't that what he called the gun?
Vera, yeah, his gun.
That it was a sweet gun. It was so like clumsy and huge, and just I call it Vera. It might be Jane. It'd be easy to say Mal, but I think I picked Jane for the men. Now, who's your favorite female?
That is Kaylee. I love her no filter grease monkey.
Kaylee all the way. Kaylee girl. Nothing against Nora, nothing against Zoe. Both beautiful women, both sharp as shit, but Kaylee's that likable, lovable girl next door, and funny.
Based on what we got, though, because I think if the show really would have ran its course, I really think River would have eventually, kind of stole the show, the kind of way she stole the movie.
Well, if she would have been, and Jay Martin, Me Too, as in not hashtag Me Too. But Jay Martin, you're saying those are your 2 favorite characters, male and female? Or just write it. What's your favorite characters? River all the way if she had been given the opportunity to kick ass like the movie. In Serenity, it's River 100%, and then, twice on Sunday type of thing.
Yeah.
And then
I think where Mal really was my favorite character, and it kind of really was where you get Jane's built too, which is the scene at the end of, I don't know what episode it was. Is it Ariel? Where they go to the hospital? Yep. And
he memorizes we connected the diodes to the neural cortex, and he says it perfectly when he's supposed to, and he's so proud of himself. And they're like, "Move along, come on,"
But that final scene between Jane and Mal, God, I did not know if we were going to get another episode with Jane in it. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, and then
that was so intense in terms of their confrontation that you literally believe that Jane was. That was the end of.
Well, and once again, they ended it on humor.
Yeah,
because he leaves the comlink tricorder walkie-talkie thing on the ledge of that little window, and Jane's just like, hello, you know,
yeah.
are you gonna let me in? And
yeah, not giving the whole scene away, but yeah, that scene is like just. I think it plays out really well, and I think you really get a feeling for Mal and how he feels about his crew and the depths he'll go to protect them.
Yep.
But you also get a lot of character development from Jane because of that scene. So.
Yeah. Because he asks him, he asks him to tell him that he died a different way.
Yeah.
Because he actually, that might have been what saved his ass.
That's, you could tell that's when Mal, I think that is what flipped. Like, I mean, like I said, again, I don't want to completely
do it. People, I mean,
so basically, Jane double crosses him on this mission, and Mal figures it out that Jane double crossed him. So after the whole thing is done, Mal puts Jane in the airlock and basically reads in the riot act.
Yeah, gonna shoot him out of space.
And you, like I said, you're convinced Jane is going out the airlock.
Yeah.
And then at that moment, I think maybe Mal says, "Do you have anything to say?" And the only thing Jane has to say at that point is just, "Don't tell him the truth."
Yeah, tell him I died a different way because he doesn't want to look bad to people that he respects and likes, even though he was trying to kind of screw him over for money.
Yeah, he doesn't even want to let him know. He's like, don't even tell him I did the double cross. Don't tell him that, this is how it went down. Just, tell him, make something up. He basically told him that. So at that point, Mal kind of realizes that, okay, Jane's kind of a doofus more than he is a bad guy. I think that's kind of but you actually see, that's when I think you start to see growth in Jane's character, because there is more depth to the guy than what you're introduced to. I mean, he is kind of a doofus when you're really introduced to him in the beginning.
Oh, yeah. But
and Jamestown really describes the big doofus that he is.
Well, and the thing is you pretty much figure that in the line of work that he's in, being just a dumb thug, he probably didn't have any kind of a family or any kind of a good family except for a single mom, because we do know that he's got a mom who's still alive because she sends him the horrible hat,
which everybody wears to the Comic-Con. It's like everyone has one of those hats and everyone wears one to a Comic-Con. So
I want one. I would love to have one.
I'm surprisingly, I don't actually own one of those hats. I know at one point they were selling them on Etsy or whatever, and somebody like sent a cease and desist letter to little grandmas crocheting hats for their fans or whatever. So, and
we're it's 4 a.m. and we're kind of winding down here, but just for anybody that might watch this on replay, bust out at least your gun, if not your jacket, just to show them. You don't have to put it on. We'll do another Firefly, but just bust out something from your cosplay.
I'd have to dig it out of my closet. We'll save it for the next. All
right. Well, he's got
what
Mr. Fancy Pants has the best cosplay. That you paid out the ass for that jacket.
That's one of my most expensive. Well, let's face it. One of the big expense was I bought the guy who actually made the brown coat, Mal's brown coat from the show. He was making replicas, and I wanted one of those. I couldn't find a decent one anywhere else, and so I actually emailed the guy and talked to him about making a brown coat, and he was selling them, or whatever. And
You gonna tell the audience how much you paid for it?
I don't even remember how much I paid for it at this point.
I thought you told me like 8 or 6 or something.
Nah, I think it was around 1,000 actually.
Yeah, so at least 800. Yeah, it's worth it, man. I've put it on. I felt that shit is made. That's like bulletproof.
I mean, it is the softest suede leather I think you'll ever wear in your entire life. And
yeah, but it's durable as shit. It's sweet.
Yeah, it's incredibly nice. And I remember wearing it to a convention, and some random girl comes up and she's just like, "Oh my God, that's like, your coat is just gorgeous." I go,
right.
"Well, thank you. I paid through the nose for it." And that's probably the most expensive cosplay item I've ever bought. Nothing's ever come close to that one item. But
right.
I mean, at the time, I should tell you, at the time, I was that big of a fan of Firefly. It's like I needed to own a true brown coat. So, and I do own that brown coat to this day. So it's
that's badass. Well, let's call it here, because I know that you were already tired before we tried this experiment.
Yeah. Well, surprisingly enough, I actually, I don't know. I don't sleep much these days.
Right. Yeah, I get it. If I get 4 hours, I'm happy. But that's why we have our pop culture loves like Firefly. And Firefly truly is that girlfriend that got away.
Yeah, she's that one you met that, it's like short. It was like the short, perfect little relationship, and then something happened. She moved away, or something. It wasn't like you didn't have a horrible breakup with her.
It was a wood chipper accident.
It was a wood chipper accident or something, but it wasn't like you went to the bitter end. It wasn't
not at all. Just warm fuzzy feelings, and you wish you could have had more.
How many seasons has Walking Dead been going? It's not that.
I don't even want to think about it. Don't even.
But I'm saying it's not that brutal. Don't
even speak its name. Yeah,
you're in that 15th season of The Walking Dead, and you just want to see how it ends. But at this point, it's like, why?
I'd much rather watch half a season of Firefly 30 times than watch.
We even call it one season, but if you really think about it, we only got a half a season. We didn't even get a full season.
That's what I'm saying. It'd be like 30 times would be 15 seasons. Because like if you count the movie, because the movie's exactly it's like 2 hours and 2 minutes or something.
Is it 2 hours? Okay.
It does make 2 hours. It does, at least in the version I have. So there's 3 basically episodes in that. Then there's 13 episodes. You got about 16 episodes, which by today's standards could be considered a full season.
That is
true. I would have loved to have just gotten 124 episode season of it.
Yeah, but there are some episodes that are actually, you get like 6 episodes. It's like, it's a season. And then you wait all next year for another 6 episodes. So it's like.
Yeah. And I guarantee that anybody that watches it for their first time, you'll get to the message, which I think is the last one on the DVDs, the one with the ding dong soldier. You'll get to that. And when you're watching that last episode, you're going to be like, I want more. Damn you, Fox, for canceling this show. Everybody wants more. You get to that last episode and you're like, wow, this can't be the last one. And you're like, well, maybe there's a movie, but you're very sad and cursing Fox's name. Yeah, when that time comes.
Yeah, that movie was like taking season 2 and cramming it into 2 hours.
Oh yeah. Or the second half of season 1, whatever. It was crammed into those 2 hours. So the movie's fantastic. I love the movie.
I still can't figure out how the movie has not caught on DVD wise or Netflix. I know there's some issue with Fox made the TV show, and then somebody else made the movie.
Universal, I think, couldn't use Firefly as a title.
Yeah. So there's been issues. I think the reason we've never really got it the other one, I think it comes down to is two studios own it or think they own it, and neither one wants the other one to make any money off of it. So
Yeah.
Yeah,
more assholes. Thanks, guys.
Yeah. So if
they're the alliance.
But no, it's just it should have been the greatest sci-fi show on TV. Period. I think we would have been talking about 10 seasons of Firefly, and nothing else has come close. Since
I would have been happy with 3.
Well, I'm just saying, like,
5
if it was the greatest sci-fi show ever, it probably could have gone 10. Yeah, well, I don't think it would have gone 10. I don't think. No, is there any sci-fi show that's ever gone 10 seasons?
I think Stargate made it to 10.
Did it? Stargate
maybe. Jay Martin, and any sci-fi TV shows make it to 10. I mean, some of the shows I watch, let's see, NCIS isn't any of those in genre, but that's still going. Supernatural made it to 15. Now they're doing a prequel series.
But it's not really sci-fi.
Yeah, I'm kind of just boring stuff out.
Yeah.
Original Star Trek 3, Next Generation 7, right? Deep Space Nine made it to 7.
I think 7. I think they stopped 7. Like all 3 of those at 7, so they like capped them all at 7. If I remember correctly, Enterprise only was like 4 years.
Voyager made it 5, or they made it to 7?
I thought they made it to 7.
Yeah, they might have. That reminds me, I got to show my my Beltran interview one of these days.
I never made it to the end of DS9, and I never made it to the end of Voyager. And I've
DS9. I don't remember Voyager at all. I don't think I did, but Deep Space Nine got really ethereal and weird at the end. I almost felt like I was watching almost like a Japanimation video game Final Fantasy kind of ending, because there was all a bunch of weird spirits and a fight in a volcano, and I can't remember shit, but it was weird. It was weird. So
you think Stargate might have made it like 10 years?
I don't know. Let's find out before we go here. And all right, Sean. Oh, you know what? A little side note. I got personal stories about half of the crew from Firefly, because it's too late. I'm forgetting. He plays Clem, the droopy skinned demon. In actually, you know what? Clem, so bad because he's an acquaintance. We talked a few times post convention. He's more of a chef now, and all that type of stuff. But James Leary, a very, very Irish sounding name, James Leary.
Okay, so depending on how you want to define God, why?
But my whole point. Let me finish my thought.
To you nonstop. Okay,
let me finish my thought. Clem, the droopy skin demon, played by James Leary. He told a story of everybody. He said Nathan, like, he had them all over for dinner, because at the time he was in Buffy, they were all buddies with each other on all of the Joss Whedon shows, right? So he basically had half the crew over for dinner, and he said they're all like their personalities. He said.
So okay, depending on how you define sci-fi, Doctor Who and the X-Files both lasted past 10 years.
Well, Doctor Who technically is still going.
Yeah. Well, as I said, past 10 years. So technically, I guess Doctor Who is the longest running sci-fi show. But well,
they ruined
I think more of the episodic, whatever kind of. Stargate did last 10, and then the rest of them were like 7. So
okay, yeah,
it never would have reached Doctor Who status, but
season 10.
And Stargate, I don't know. That was
Stargate is very incestuous. I'm looking at it right now. Stargate says season 1, or no, Stargate 1, season 10, and Atlantis season 3, because there was Stargate Atlantis. And I think that Kaylee from Firefly made it into the last season of Stargate, either season 10 or Stargate Atlantis season 3. But I know that Jewel State made it into the last season, at least, of the then about to be canceled Stargate. Her and somebody else made it in there towards the end. But yes, it looks like it did. The original Stargate made 10 seasons.
Okay.
And then,
so I'll say shows where you fly around in a spaceship. 7 years seemed to be the where Star Trek had ended. So we'll say 7, maybe if it was the best ever, we'll say. Is that you? We'll say 8 years. We could
turn that copywritten music down, bitch.
Was that my like window popping open and playing crap?
That wasn't mine.
Oh, okay. Yeah, great.
Good music, but we can't.
But you're right. I would have taken 3 seasons. You know,
now 5. If I could choose whatever I wanted, 5. But just as far as universal justice, there should have been just 3 seasons of Firefly, and you could have flushed out. And also, they get to be full seasons, remember? So you get at least a couple 2-hour ones and stuff. So you're going to be getting about 64 to 68 hours of viewing pleasure out of Firefly because of that. So, all right, I'm getting down a rabbit hole with Stargate. I'm trying to find Jewel State, who was in Firefly. What about?
I know she showed up in an episode of or in one of the seasons. She was in. I never watched Stargate.
She was there a full season.
Like some people are like, "Oh, that's my favorite sci-fi of all time." I'm like, okay, it's. I never seen. I saw the movie. I didn't think the movie was that great, so I never bothered to watch.
I didn't think any of it was. My dad watched it. I didn't think any of it was that bad. I just didn't think anything was that good. Nothing had the heart of Firefly. Firefly was so popular, especially among women. You got to remember, women are very emotional, heartfelt creatures, and they're very awesome like that. And they were the ones that really rallied the cry for bringing back Firefly in the beginning, because for the first time ever, science fiction had really touched a female demographic, which was incredible. A lot of people don't think about that.
Well, I assume it's a lot of the Buffy fans that liked what Joss was doing, and
which isn't his birth name.
No, his real name is
Hinkeldork Flingelflard.
I think the simple thing is you would think it would be Joshua, but I don't think it actually is.
No, but who knows? All we know is Firefly. Watch it. It's so good, and I'm glad that we got to pop our junk tank cherry working with the Yenz, and maybe he'll reveal his name one of these days, and the Nath. The Yenz and the Nath. I'm gonna end it here. We can still talk for 2 minutes after we're done before you completely go.
Okay.
But I'm gonna end the live broadcast. Almost an hour and 40 minutes here. And is there any other Firefly trivia or experience or anything that you want to mention? What's your last Firefly? What's your message?
My last message.
What's your signal? Because you can't stop the signal. Another great
signal.
Can't stop the signal, Yenz. What's it going to be?
We never talked about the theme song.
Take my love, take my land, take me where I can stand.
And I believe the theme song was another problem Fox had with the show.
Well, Joss Whedon wrote it and somebody else played it, but it was a great tune. It was a great song. I mean, that's part of what gets you all warm and fuzzy before the episode even begins. And then at the end of the song, the butt of the Firefly ship goes off into the distance. And
But yeah, the theme song was 30 seconds of pure joy. I mean, I don't even remember how long it was.
yeah. I think I've looked this up before, but I mean, I'm not the best nerd that there is out there. Was there more lyrics that just weren't in the intro? Wasn't there like more?
No, I don't think there was. I think what happened.
There wasn't one
other
more
people have wrote
I'm gonna look
more
it up.
lyrics.
I'm gonna look it up. I don't believe you. I don't believe you. But go ahead, continue. I think you're right, actually.
No, because I own this. I have the Firefly soundtrack, which is not.
Oh
actually
no, I do too somewhere. I don't have the movies anymore because everybody I know stole them. But I do have that and the Lost soundtrack somewhere.
But the problem with the soundtrack from Firefly is it's not rememberable. It's a lot of background music. It's not like the show was on 7 years and we have all these great, scores that existed over time. It's just kind of like this is all the music we ever did, and we put it onto a soundtrack, and a lot of it is just kind of low background noise, not great music. And that's another thing. When they did the movie, they couldn't use the same person or something. And so, like, all the music.
Ooh, I'm saving this one. Hey, I'm saving this one. This one has G, A minor 7th, B minor 7th, D, A minor 7th, D9, A minor 7th, D 7th, G diminished, A minor 7th, G6. I'm saving this. I'll send it to you. It's actually got the guitar chords on it. I might have to play it next when we do like the official Firefly special.
We're going to open up with our own rendition of the theme song.
Yep. I'll tune up the old beast and
you should tune your guitar too.
No. This isn't right. This is a song from 1960 recorded by Tony Bennett. Son of a bitch.
No, but I think there has been people that have made longer versions of the theme song, but I'm positive that
here it is. Yeah, here it is. Yeah, I knew you were. I was joking with you. I knew
it only exists, I think, in like I said, it's 1 minute or whatever.
Take my love, take my land, take me where I cannot stand. I don't care. I'm still free. You can't take the sky from me. That's one of the best lines. Is you can't take the sky from me. Take me out to the black. Tell them I ain't coming back. Burn the land and boil the sea. You can't take the sky from me. Have no place I can be since I found serenity. But you can't take the sky from me. Great line. You can't take the sky from me. Yeah, she. All right. Do we cover everything?
Yeah, I'm tired. So.
Yeah, I know. It's 4:19 a.m. And Jay Martin's still there laughing at us. So thanks for joining us, Jay Martin. Thanks for taking part in this, Yenz. We're going to be doing a whole lot of stuff like this. This is a great way to, get the ball rolling. You're part of the Junk Tank family. You've known me for longer than you probably care to mention or to remember. But here's to everybody that loves Firefly. Shiny Captain.
Is that your mother's milk?
You got that right. High in fructose corn syrup and no alcohol, but it does look like mother's milk, doesn't it? This is like
that's like a happy accident that you're drinking some mother's milk while you're talking about Firefly.
Oh yeah, why do you think I said I got to go get a drink?
Okay,
it's like, this stuff is like, yeah, it's actually it's mother's milk. There, I'm not going to tell. It's probably better. It probably tastes better than what mother's milk was supposed to have tasted like. I guarantee you that.
Yeah, I forget what it was supposed to be made out of, but
it was just like that shit they fed the Egyptians. Because Simon mentions that it was like food and liquid in one.
Yeah, it was like a protein shake almost or something like that.
Yeah, it would give you enough nutrients to work, but it would keep you dumbed down enough to not rebel. basically, and have a life outside, you know, of the desert. Somebody didn't drink it one day and just ran all the way to Ireland, just got the fuck out of there. But all right, we love Firefly. You should too. Check it out. You don't have to like sci-fi to like it. And yeah, it's just a ton of fun. I am ending the broadcast now. Any last words, Jay Martin or Yenz Rack? Well, there you go. Peace out. Shiny.